Welcome to the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast with psychologist Dr. Doreen Downing. Listen in as Doreen interviews people who felt they didn't have a voice or who suffered extreme speaking anxiety. You'll hear stories about how they struggled to speak up, what they did to find their authentic voice, and the confidence they now feel to speak up and make an impact. If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. And now, here is Doreen.
Hi, this is Dr. Doreen Downing. Welcome to the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast. Every time I get to meet somebody new and introduce you to a person who might have struggled in a way that you struggled, this is what's going to happen today. This is my first conversation with Kayla Middleton, and we're both, the listeners and myself, are going to learn about herself and what happened around not having a voice and what she gets to do nowadays. She's a coach, and I'll tell you more about her in just a minute. Hi, Kayla.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, it's a good morning here, and I know it's a early evening for you.
Yes, it is 5 o'clock, which is not too bad.
Yeah. You sent me some bio, and I do have a little bit of your story. So I'd like to read that now so people get prepared for what's coming up. Kayla Middleton is an identity and mindset coach for women in business who helps women become the version of themselves their life and business need them to be. Before starting her business, Kayla struggled to believe she truly had a voice or that a bigger life was possible for her. Stuck in debt and working in a job she hated, she quietly settled for just getting by. What started as a way to earn extra income became a life-changing transformation. Within months, she built a successful business, left her job, and began helping hundreds of women move beyond fear, self-doubt, and playing small so that they can confidently show up, speak up, and grow their business with purpose. Wow, that sounds like just the right kind of uh, background for the kind of person I like to introduce to my listeners. Somebody who has struggled and somehow found a way, not only found a way, but it sounds like it was your way, and now you get to teach it.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? Just hearing that bio back, I'm so incredibly proud of myself. And I know that's not usually something that, especially as women, we are used to saying that we are proud of ourselves or that we're happy with our achievements and stuff. But yeah, I'm very proud of myself for everything that I've done and get to help other women do as well.
Yeah, I like that phrase, get to, that you really feel like it's a privilege to share what you've learned along the way. And that to me feels like what a true coach is about, being able to transform difficulty and then have having done some kind of work on yourself, then you know the journey and you can say, I can guide you.
Yeah, absolutely. I get more excited and more passionate about my clients' results and epiphanies and aha moments than I do my own when I'm doing my own inner work. So,
Yeah, I just had that experience yesterday when I got some feedback and I realized that's it. It just really touches, opens my heart when I hear a breakthrough that they might have had. So good. Well, before we get into exactly how you do, and why you do what you do, let's look at a little bit of the background. I know people can tell from the difference in our accents that you might come from another part of the world than I do, which is in Northern California. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what that was like for you. And we're talking about voice, and those early childhood experiences are often a place where we first come into I have a voice or nobody's listening or people don't understand. There's often a way in which we come into the world and then start interacting with it, usually our family first, where it might be a little like maybe some expectations or, I'm starting to go further into explaining it, but I think you understand what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I am actually from the UK. I have always lived pretty much within like a 20-mile radius. I'm in Lincolnshire and I've always lived here. It's literally the flattest part of the UK that you could possibly imagine, which suits me quite well because I'm not really an exercise kind of person. So anywhere with hills is not really my game. But my childhood was, I would say, a really normal, average childhood. I have always been told that I was very outgoing. I have always been told, like, oh, like you could just talk to anybody. And there are, when I look at videos back of like when I was a child and things like that, I was constantly on the go, constantly talking. My dad actually calls me Doozer. So, for anyone who doesn't know, there was a program way back when called Fraggle Rock, and it was these little tiny people called Doozers, and they were constantly a million miles an hour, constantly talking and gibbering jabbering away. And I turned 32 soon, and I still get called Doozer. So, I think that really shows who I was as a child. But I definitely grew up with, like, through the years with a lot of expectations on my shoulders, not in like a heavy way, not in a bad way, but I was always the polite one. I always, was always please and thank you. I was very mindful for other people's feelings. I was very good at reading the room and the energy, even from a really young age. I was always the one who would, if my friends fell over, I was always the one to fix them. And yeah, I definitely had that expectation of like, oh, we never had to worry about you, like you were always such a good girl. And I think, as a child, you really strive for that praise, you really strive for that validation. But it isn't always the most helpful when you then grow up into adulthood and you still put those expectations on yourself. You still have that good girl, kind of persona that you have to keep everyone happy. So yeah, I definitely had that very wholesome childhood, I would say. But very early on established that I was the fixer, that I was the responsible one, that I was always going to be the one that helped other people and filled their cup maybe before filling my own, which is why I think I'm a coach now.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. And a lot of times when I do start interviewing people, I listen to those roots that are already there in you naturally, kind of the gift that you have and how it shows up early in life. So both the way in which you are expressive, my dear, very expressive, and not somebody who holds herself back, but seems to be able to uh, shine naturally. And then because you shine, people look towards you to get some guiding light, you might say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's so strange because I, even though everyone always says, oh, you're the life of the party, like, you light up a room, and they say really lovely things about me, whilst I know that I can definitely show up for other people. I definitely kind of don't necessarily identify as that when it's doing something for myself. So if, one of the most ridiculous examples, like if I was out with my best friend and her food was wrong, I would be the one to go up to the bar and say, oh, I'm really sorry, but this, her food is wrong. But if my food was wrong, I wouldn't say a word. So it's really funny how the protector of other people, but not necessarily the protector of myself, definitely comes into play.
Oh, that is so curious. I'll be holding that as a question in my mind because it does have to do with voice. The very exact example you just used was using your voice in service of somebody else, not yourself. Any other thoughts about how that arose for you, how you found yourself more comfortable speaking for others?
I don't know really. I think I have always found it very easy to see other people's potential, other
Mm.
people's vulnerabilities, to see how other
Uh,
people maybe don't what's the word I'm looking for, don't fully realize just how incredible they are, whether it's clients, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's just complete strangers that I happen to meet. I've always been very good at spotting that and being like, well, hang on a minute, you're absolutely doing yourself a disservice here. And yet I think it's very hard to recognize that in ourselves, because it can be really easy for us to give ourselves the excuses or the context of like, oh well, that doesn't count because, and do you know what I mean? I think it's very easy to take people at face value, but also not trip over all of the excuses and stuff that maybe they give themselves that we don't actually know about.
Something just realized I didn't ask you. Where are you on the birth order in terms of where
uh
siblings? Do you have brothers and sisters?
yes, I've got a younger sister who is, oh gosh, hang on, 6 years younger than me.
Oh,
So,
well,
and
there you
we,
go. There's one. Here comes this vulnerable little being into the world, and you naturally are sensitive and the kind of person we've already started talking about your gifts. And here she is. And
yeah.
I would say, okay, thank you. I needed to figure that one out. I always like to put the puzzle pieces together because you did say there was some way in which you're stronger when it comes to somebody else than you are about yourself in terms of speaking up. And
Mm.
I have a younger sister, so I think I can relate. So,
Yeah.
okay. So moving along in your life and coming out into the world more as somebody who has the kind of um, both the ability to see people and their potential and what's possible for them, and less about yourself. How else did that play out when you were becoming a maybe a young adult, going through school, starting out early in life?
So I actually in my, and do you know what, I actually forgot about this until literally just this second, but in primary school, I actually applied to be on the school council. So that meant that there was like a small group of us who got together. I think it was probably monthly or something like that, and we had to talk about, what the school could be doing for us. Like we had to organize like fundraisers. We had to make sure that like the children's voices were being heard, and I was on the school council. And then when I moved up into secondary school, we had something called a student leader, which was again very much being a voice of the people. And I applied for that, and then I actually got promoted to a senior student leader, which meant I was like head prefect. And again, I had to go to all the meetings and be the voice for all the students. So if students weren't happy about something, if they had concerns or suggestions, I kind of was the go between the students and the adults that made that happen. And I had never actually made the connection between that and what I do now, which again is very much being, that authoritative voice, which is so strange because I do not relate to the word authority in the slightest. Like I repel the word authority or expert, to be honest with you. But yeah, school was it was very strange because in school I was also severely bullied as well. So I really had
Mm.
two two very different experiences happening at the same time that I also think has very much shaped who I am as an adult. So school was definitely the pivotal years of my life for launching me into the version I am now, even if it was quite painful at the time.
Oh, thank you. That was very descriptive and also insightful. I, yeah, because so many of the people that I've worked with and people that I'm sure are listening have experienced, it's one of the things that cuts people off from their voice is bullying. Can you give us an example of what that was, if it's not too personal and you can?
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm being really honest, I was actually bullied throughout my whole school life. So both through all of primary school and all of secondary school. I actually had to move primary schools a couple of times because of bullying. And do you know what? I can't really say I knew why. Like, I was not a horrible child. I was really lovely, even if I say so myself. And I think it's just one of those things that you can't be everyone's cup of tea. And I think maybe I was the easy target, if you like, because again, I couldn't speak up for myself. If I saw somebody else getting bullied, I was going to be there and I was going to be defending them. But because it was myself, I didn't really have that kind of courage, that strength. But yeah, I went through a whole plethora of issues, to be honest. It was usually, the mean, popular girls that um, decided that my makeup wasn't right that day, or that my hair wasn't right that day, or that maybe I was trying too hard in my homework. And, just the
Mhm.
really juvenile, they had very strong opinions of me, and they really made sure that I heard those opinions.
Oh, well, I appreciate that you gave us some details like that because I know that when listeners hear somebody's story and they could put themselves in your shoes and have had, especially if they have had that same experience or something similar, then it's like, okay, well, what did Kayla do? How is she on this podcast now? How is she being so bright and happy and has such a powerful, strong voice? How did she do that? And we're going to explore that a little bit more after we take a break. Be right back.
If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com.
Hi, we're back with Kayla Middleton, who's telling us about her early life in general. It was positive enough. There were a lot of expectations. She was an older sister, so naturally learned that there is another being in this world that needs some attention. And maybe Kayla took that as a sign to look at and take care of her little sister as opposed to really develop her own sense of self and voice. And so what I've learned so far from Kayla is this there's kind of a magnificence that I feel that Kayla brought into this world who and was able to be it early on, looking around and seeing people and noticing where there could be something different. And this whatever happened to Kayla, even with the bullying, it feels like something in later in life happened where you lost your voice. That's my sense of, because right now it just feels like, yeah, but you have a pretty good perspective on what happened to you early on and how it relates to what you do today. Yeah, being
Mhm.
somebody who was picked to be one of the leaders in school. Well, you have a story about what happened in later in life and how things kind of collapsed for you. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yes, collapse would be a good a good word. So it isn't something that just suddenly happened. I think it was just a very hard lesson that I think young adults learn the hard way, unfortunately. So I moved out of my family home. I was quite young. I think I was 16, 17, moved in with my boyfriend, who he is now my husband. And we became very independent very quickly. However, that also meant that we became very financially responsible for ourselves, which I just do not think we were ready for as 17-year-olds. And we did end up in a huge amount of debt. We were in quite a lot of debt. We were in jobs that were very reliant on our age, not what's the word, the naivety of us. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle. So I was actually in a job that I really disliked. I was working in a nursery because I thought, oh, I'll work with children. Like, I loved my child. Like, I was like, amazing. And it turns out actually, I don't really like children that much. I like my own, but I don't like other children all that much. And unfortunately, the wage was rubbish, the hours were rubbish, the expectations were far too high, the pressure was far too high. But if I'm being really honest, that is what I had assumed my life would look like. I had no ambition, I had no goals. I was very much under the impression that this is just what being an adult was. It was struggling financially, it was not really being super happy in your career, it was living for the weekend, and just kind of rinse and repeat, really. And I think I felt like that because so many people around me had adopted that attitude of struggle and just, you'll have bare minimum and you'll be happy with it. So that's how I was living, to be honest.
Uh-huh. Something must have happened because that's not the story now. What happened?
No.
I know you said it wasn't just a light switch, that it was a series of things, but uh, curious,
Yeah.
curious.
So it was the fact that the pressure and the struggle got a bit too much, and we were having to really choose between like food and petrol. Like, our financial situation had got quite desperate. And my husband turned around to me one day and he said, "Why don't you go out and start business?" As if it was like the easiest thing in the world to do. And I was actually a qualified beautician at the time. And I was like, no, that sounds dreadful. Like, I don't want to be responsible for our income. I don't want to have to think about doing taxes. I was very sure I'd accidentally commit like tax fraud and end up in prison. I had a lot of fears around, again, I suppose it was really being responsible for myself and really having to stand up and be like, I'm going to go and do this thing. And I was just not that person. I was I was more than happy to just clock in, do my job. I wasn't happy in it, but I was content that I didn't have to stretch my comfort zone in order to do that. But I had no choice. My comfort zone needed stretching, my bank account needed rescuing. So I said, right, I'll go out, and if I can earn just £200 a month, that would really just keep us above water. And I set up a business, and then 3 weeks later, we went into our first national lockdown. So it was quite literally the worst timing in the world. And I thought, oh, the universe is really telling me, Kayla, don't do this. But my husband was quite adamant that the universe hadn't sent me an entire global pandemic to shut down my business. So it was in July, we were able to open, and I actually went out for the first time and earned some money, and my goal was £200. And in that first month, I earned, I think it was just over £860 in that first month. And honestly, I may as well have been a millionaire. And the absolute fire and passion it created in me is indescribable. Like, it really was. I think that transition was really night and day, because I was like, suddenly I didn't have to be this quiet, put up with bare minimum, put up with, being told what to do, when to do, how to live, what to earn. Suddenly I was in control of my life for the first time ever. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, I understand what I'm actually here to do. And that was long before my coaching as well. I realized that I was going to be the one to change my life. Like, if I wanted things to change, I was responsible for it. And for the first time, I was actually so excited about that idea.
I love hearing the wake up that you had, the hello world, here I am.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that feels like, as I was listening, I also felt the sense of voice that came from you, finally, that it was about
Yeah.
you. You said standing up for yourself, which in our conversation, the whole earlier life was about standing up for others. And yet, standing up for yourself, now, how do you work with people who are not doing that for themselves?
So I very much do that through my coaching. So I did my nail business like first, and then came into coaching. And I think one of the absolute values that I carry now is really helping women to understand that they too get to have that exact decision, that exact hello world moment. And they get to be the ones that go, oh, like, I get to have more than what I've got. I get to, be the mum and the business owner, or I get to be the wife and the entrepreneur, or whatever it might be. And it's, really helping women to kind of unlayer the stories that they had kind of grown up with, the identities and the, I suppose, not excuses, but the evidence to say, oh, we can't do this, we're not that sort of person. And to get to watch them go, oh, we can choose differently. That is where I come in helping, these women get their own voices and be like, oh, like, the world is literally my oyster.
For those who aren't able to see you and are just listening, I have to say that Kayla is beaming. That the thrill that I get from you around witnessing the breakthroughs that your clients get to have. Well, let's talk a few minutes here now about your how you work and how you help them find their voice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work on a few different levels, I suppose. So, like, I have like a membership. I work one to one with clients. But like I said, the thing that I really kind of dream for my clients, I suppose, if for lack of a better word, is them to really understand what has been stopping them. So, for example, one of my one-to-one clients that I was speaking with, I think it was last week, she was saying about how, oh, I've never got time for anything. Like, I'll do this when, and I'll live the life when. And we really went through and kind of noticed how her childhood, if you like, had really shaped this sense of, oh, I have to have all of my ducks in the row and then I can enjoy it. And one of the ridiculously tiny things that we uncovered was, I said, when you used to sit down and eat a meal as a child, was you told that, you had to finish your plate before you could get up from the table? And she was like, yes, like I wasn't allowed to. I said, it's little things like this that, we are told, you have to finish this thing, you have to do this set of whatever it might be, and then you get the reward, then you get what you want. And she was like, I can tell you about 50,000 examples of how that has played into my life, and I've never even realized. And I'm literally sitting there doing a happy dance, like, yes, because it's another block that has, like, unpeeled itself, and she's now another step closer towards, the life and business that she envisioned when setting her business up. Like, I think, we all start businesses because, yes, we want to create the impact, yes, we want to create the income, but actually we all have a version of our life that we envision, that we have those hopes and those dreams and those experiences and opportunities that we have for ourselves. And I think it's really frustrating when we know what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we've got the content, we've got the strategy, we follow the 50 people, and yet for some reason we're not moving any further forward. And I really help people almost see that they are the problem in business, but if they are the problem, it also means that they are the solution as
Oh,
well.
I love
So
that. That's perfect. That I think you've really put a marker on exactly what you do and why, as well as this message. If you're if you're trying to do something, and it's not happening, you're part of the problem. But guess what? You're also part of the solution.
yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
That just really wraps it up. Well, we're coming to an end, and I want to make sure that if there's something that you want to say about the work that you do, so that people can, do you have an offer or something coming up or freebie?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do actually have a freebie. Everything can be found through my Instagram. So I'm not sure if we're able to link that somewhere, but it is literally Instagram/KaylaMiddleton.co. But I do have a freebie there. And it is the 5 reasons or the 5 signs that your business is feeling hard. So it's essentially the 5 most common hidden patterns, hidden behaviors that are stopping people moving forward in their business. And I'm not going to lie, it's a real like aha mic drop guide, because they are things that every single listener of yours will have experienced at some point and has got no idea is holding them back in their business. So it's really good, even if I say so myself.
Oh, well, I love the idea that it has what you just said about it. It's like shining a light on something that we don't see, or maybe it's a pocket inside of ourselves that's hidden even and zipped up, and we need to unzip up those pockets where we're stopping ourselves. So, uh, I always like at the end to take a breath and give you the opportunity, especially around the idea of having a voice, what you might want to say in this now moment as we come to a close. What do you want to leave people with when it comes to finding and having a voice?
I think if there is one thing that I would really love for everyone listening to take away, is that no matter how much you think the life is for somebody else, no matter how much you tell yourself, I'm not that kind of woman, like I'm not the sort of person who can X, Y, and Z, I absolutely promise you, you can. Like, you 100% can achieve whatever you want to. It might not be super easy, it might not be an overnight thing, but the first thing you have to do is give yourself permission to at least try. Because I was that version of myself once, 2019. I was saying, I'm never going to be that woman. And now I'm sat here. I'm a business owner. I'm a home owner. My life has completely changed because I gave myself the permission to say, actually, do you know what? No, I'm going to try and do this my way now. And yeah, you absolutely can do whatever you set out to achieve once you give yourself the permission to try.
Oh, yes, the courage. Thank you very much, Kayla.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for being with us today for this episode of Find Your Voice, Change Your Life. Each person Doreen interviews shares what has helped them find their voice. You can learn from these guests and find your voice so you can be confident to speak up and speak out. And remember to download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. We hope you enjoyed this show and will return next time. Until then, goodbye for now.